So you never paid for protection?
No.
Okay. But then there was another guy you know who actually did pay for protection.
Yeah.
Tell me about this story.
Yeah, that's in the same facility where Patel was, that's Brooklyn Detention Center, where Patel and I were. He comes in, it was another, like, we used to joke that if you were white and had no tattoos and all your teeth, you're a child molester, right? Because that's generally what it was, okay. just to be honest. So he comes in and he has all of his teeth and no tattoos, and he's like probably my age, some white kid. And like, oh, Billy, your brother. They're all like, laughing and making fun of him, right? And he pays like that day. I think he was on drugs or a drug addict, and he finds himself in trouble within hours of getting there. So now the rumor is he paid some guy for protection, so that guy moved him into his cell, and it was a cell next to mine. And that night, you just heard him getting raped, and like him screaming and him crying, and that was like, and like we all had buttons in our cell for like you can click for emergencies. And I'm like, did we hit the button? And Patel's my cellmate. He's like, Billy, you can't hit that button.
Really?
He's like, you can't do it. It's like, like whatever. Like you try to protect that kid now, you're fucking me over, you're fucking yourself over for the rest of your bid, as he said. Like, this will stay with you. Like, you can't tell the police anything. And that was like the next fucking like mindfuck moment.
So you're hearing this younger white guy getting raped right next to you.
Right next to me.
And I guess he can't get to the button.
Yeah,
he can't get to it. And nobody else. So other people are hearing this.
They hear it. And then the worst part is the next morning when they let the cells out, and now the rumors spread fast, right? Everybody knows what happened at this point. And so rumors are getting around, and then like he's scared to tell on the guy because they're like, oh, if you tell him, we're going to kill you. So he just goes and convinces the police to move his cell. He's like, I have to be in a different cell, right? So he goes into a different cell. We lock in the next night, and then the doors open early in the morning at some point, like let's say like 6 a.m, right? And like I'm still sleeping in bed, and all I hear is help me, help me. So the guy who raped him was embarrassed. So as soon as the cell's doors opened the next morning, he took a razor blade and went and slashed the guy the next day.
In the face?
I didn't see him. So they dragged him out and never saw the guy again. I just heard from my bed, the screams woke me up. So it was like, fuck. The guy got raped one night, is too scared to tell people he's in danger, somehow convinces them to switch where he's living, and then the guy now is embarrassed, so he goes and slashes him. But
did the guy get arrested or charged with anything? Who slashed him?
They took them both away and never saw them
both away.
So yeah, there's no idea what happened to him.
What was the race of the guy who raped him?
He was black guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't know him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine that. I've always said this in my interviews. I watched the movie American Me when I was in high school, and when I saw the rape scene, I said, I'm not going to prison. So whatever I do, I don't want to be in that position. And to hear your story is just, I think,
thankfully, that was the only time that I saw or even heard about real rape. There was a lot of consensual sex that was going on.
Was there a lot of gay inmates and stuff?
A lot of gay inmates, and you would see things you didn't want to hear and see all the time. You'd hear rumors, people making fun of them. Like that was totally a thing, but that was the only time where I saw non-consensual.
Yeah, no, I mean in prison.
Yeah.
I remember I interviewed Terrence Gangster Williams. He's Birdman's brother.
Yeah.
And he said that around 30% of the inmates experiment with homosexuality in prison, especially if they have long prison terms. If you were to guess the whole time, because you spent how many years in prison?
23 years, 10
23 years. So almost 24 years. What percentage of inmates experiment with homosexuality at some point?
I'm going to say 30%.
30%, and 1 out of 3.
Yeah. 30%.
That's a big number. And, I hear stories of, weddings going on in prison.
For sure.
They throw rice and there's a whole ceremony and, there's transgenders.
A lot of transgenders.
There was a lot of transgenders?
Yeah. I was after the prison I was at with the situation of Michael Cohen, I was transferred to this other place in Ohio. And I think my second or third night there, I hear over the loudspeaker, the Dungeons and Dragons tournament's happening now. And I start cracking up. I'm like, oh, that cop's hilarious. Everybody's looking at me like I'm a fucking idiot. I'm like, no, he just made a funny joke on the loudspeaker. I thought he was kidding, making fun of us, right? But he was for real, and that's where all the transgenders went to
play Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah. So I thought the cop was joking, and people were all looking at me like I had 10 heads. Like, oh, it wasn't like this at the last place. I'm looking around.
Right. Well, at one point, you try to start a podcast while you're locked up. Yeah. Then you get caught.
Yeah.
And then they put you in solitary for 7 months.
7 months in solitary. So I did a podcast at the same facility. And
is that illegal though?
No, it wasn't illegal. I think that was kind of the worst part. I signed to a production company from jail for the podcast, and they released a trailer. And in the trailer, they used a stock image of a guy in a jail cell. And his hands were kind of like down on his head, and the guy looked just like me. It wasn't me. So they thought I had a cell phone taking like these stock pictures. So they came and grabbed me an hour after the trailer came, put me in solitary. They realized in a week that I didn't do anything to break the rules. And like, I think that infuriated them even more. And like, hey, if you just had a cell phone, we'll let you go back out. But now that like you didn't break the rules, but you really shouldn't be doing this. Like, we don't want media attention to our jail, right? So it was kind of like, it broke the nature of the rules, but didn't actually break a rule. But now like Suge Knight's doing one, right? And they're kind of like supporting it. So I was like, who the fuck knows? But they weren't happy. Went to solitary for 7 months for that, and then was transferred to a different jail outside of Detroit.
I mean, I've interviewed lots of inmates from jail. I've interviewed R. Kelly.
Oh, really?
From jail.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
No, it's legal to make a phone call and to have the phone call recorded. And I'll even tell the person I'm recording the phone call, like, no problem. And every so often, this call is being recorded by an inmate of...
You've done it,
Yeah, there's nothing illegal about it. Multiple, I've probably done. I mean, the guy who killed Michael Jordan's dad, I interviewed him in prison.
Okay, I didn't know. I got it.
Yeah, there's nothing illegal about talking to someone, having them record it, but knowing that the prison also has a copy of that recording as well.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
But, I don't, I'm trying to figure out what the crime is, and I guess
I was found not guilty. They had like an internal hearing, exactly. I was found not guilty. But still did the 7 months. I was found not guilty after 7 months.
So did you have a cellmate in solitary, or were you by yourself?
Half, I would say back and forth. For half of it, I didn't have one, and half of it, I had one.